Hey everybody. It is Suicide Awareness Month, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. If you have never stood on the precipice or attempted suicide and survived it, then you may not understand. I read a post that someone had done recently, and um, they kind of said that suicide awareness wasn't about the crisis hotlines and the suicide prevention hotline, but it was about, they listed a number of things, most of them poverty related um, action items that we need in our society. All of those things were needed, but poverty is, suicide is not something relegated to the poor. It is about more than that. There are plenty of people who have gone through life's challenges without thoughts of ending their life. There are others that is a constant battle that they may have to fight. Like I said, they may have even gone so far as to attempt suicide and maybe failed at it or succeeded in it, unfortunately, for those that we have lost. But I want to encourage you to reach out. These are not issues in which I'm unfamiliar with. I think I've told you guys before, I went through an 8-month period where the crisis hotline was something I used on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times a day. They became quite familiar with me. If it weren't for them, I may have succeeded in an attempt. If it were not for them, I may have had to be hospitalized. There were, like I said, days my crisis level was extreme. I was hysterical, could not calm myself down. The thoughts in my mind became so loud as to be overwhelming. The amount of confusion and pain and aloneness that I felt was overwhelming. It's a beautiful thing to be able to pick up the line and know that someone is going to be on that other end to speak to. If you might have people in your life that you can talk to, but everybody's going through their own challenges, and not everybody they have their own energy to hold that type of space. I can be a bit much when I'm in crisis. Not something everybody can easily handle or knows how to, even if they want to. What you say and how you say it can be critical. People on crisis hotlines are quite well trained most of the time. I've had very few poor experiences. I won't say any, but for the most part, those people are compassionate and empathetic and have an understanding of how to help you work through it. But it's like when you're dealing with mental health issues, you have to have some type of awareness and understanding of what can be expected. A crisis hotline is not there to solve your problems. They may be able to offer resources if you're going through a housing related crisis or, mental health crisis or domestic violence crisis or anything like that. They may be able to offer resources that could be of assistance. I often found that the resources may not have been something that I could utilize. They weren't built for me. I don't fit into most norms when it comes to things, and a lot of those were not resources that were available to me. They were not programs set up to help a single person. But it gave me hope. It helped me press on to the next day and to the next moment. Having someone to reach out to and just to be able to sometimes you just need to be able to speak what it is that's causing you so much distress and so much pain. Major life challenges can be quite rough on me. There's a lot of anxiety and fear that comes. Even with good change, I struggle. In every major life change over the last 6 years, I have used the crisis hotline, even recently. Having someone, like I said, just hear you, to hold space, is quite powerful. Not everybody has learned to build community. I think, like I said, there are plenty of people who may be struggling financially, but a support system can make all of the difference. If you don't have that, having someone to reach out to can help. But do reach out. You're not alone. So often when I'm going through things, I feel quite alone. It feels like no one could possibly understand what it is I'm facing. But the truth is, you're not alone. And there are many others that are going through the very same thing. Don't lose hope. And like I said, if you're struggling, having someone remind you that you're not alone is a very powerful thing. It's very powerful. But I just want to encourage you to keep your head up. I find that listening to positive and inspirational people and things, I subscribe to a lot of positive pages. So that dominates my feeds on whatever social media platform I find myself. I had hesitations about TikTok. I had a lot of resistance to that. But I found a tribe of people who have similar viewpoints. We come from very different backgrounds, but share common interests. There's all kinds of places on TikTok to find yourself. And then, like I said, whatever it is that you really like to watch tends to be what shows up for you. There were times when I moved back here in December, every day I was smiling and acting like everything was normal and trying to seem very put together, but I was really struggling. It wasn't as bad as my first move. I didn't end up on a crisis hotline every day. Not that I didn't utilize them a couple times, but I found someone who does a lot of positivity, and they have lives. And so at night, when I could not sleep, tossing and turning in my own thoughts, going at war with myself in my mind, there was a place of what felt like safety. I utilized that for months. Then I was able to get on the schedule and began to sleep again, and I didn't need it so much. But there's so many ways that we can help ourselves in navigating. I have to use deep breathing quite a bit. Breathing deep into my belly and into my back. Making that exhale breath a little longer than the inhale. Disassociation is a coping mechanism for me. So finding ways to ground myself and using grounding exercises. Sometimes the simplest things, or household chores can feel overwhelming. The desire to shut down and to isolate is quite strong. Do your best to push past it. Like I say, you're not alone. There are people who have stood where you stood, where you're standing, in whatever crisis that you're in whatever place of loneliness and despair and hopelessness. Someone else has stood there. They're going through a similar challenge, and connecting with another can help remind you of that. Helping you feel connected, centered, and grounded, bringing you back to the tools that you may already have. Like I said, having reasonable expectations. Other people cannot solve your problems. And if you go to another with the idea that it is their job to solve whatever situation, then you may find yourself quite disappointed. Other people can't fix everything for us. They may be able to help us, but people cannot fix our problems for us. But they can stand with us as we walk that journey. Having an expectation that's reasonable can help you. It's kind of like taking medication. Sometimes people take medication and they have this idea that it is supposed to solve the problem. Mental health medications are not going to solve the problem. What they're going to do is medicate symptoms. They may help reduce symptoms until you can become to a balanced enough state to make healthier choices or to begin to do the work to heal some of the underlying traumas that typically lead to those mental health diagnoses. The first time I was put on medication, I was so grateful. I was in such chaos. I had no coping skills to name at the time. And so it helped me. It helped me get to a place of clarity. It gave me a lot of other symptoms though. So I ended up with just different symptoms and more medication to deal with those symptoms and then medication to deal with those. And eventually I was on 7 or 8 different medications. The last medication had me where I didn't sleep for a week, not an hour. I didn't sleep for an entire week. And I realized at that moment, that something else there had to be another way. So I found other coping mechanisms. There was acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine and body work and things that I ended up going into, and I began to build a whole toolkit of resources and techniques and coping skills to help me as I did the deeper work. The better I get at utilizing those, the deeper I can dive. But there are people who have been where you are and they can talk about it. Like I said, TikTok is an interesting community, But you can find all types of people on there. If you're in the LGBTQI community, then there's a whole TikTok family there for you. If you are dealing with mental health struggles, there is a whole community there that understands exactly what you're going through, and they will remind you of that and give you tools and help you laugh, and there's a whole community for you. You're a single mom and you're struggling, there's a whole community. If you're an Indigenous person and you want someone to relate to, there's a whole community. If you're into spirituality and witchcraft and tarot readings and Reiki healing, there's a whole communities. There's people to connect to. I didn't expect to find a larger community of like-minded people on TikTok than I do on any other social media platform. I'm grateful for the person that talked about it. It was actually that live I used to attend when I couldn't sleep. And he talked about it. The first time I went on TikTok, I was like, oh, this is not for me. This is not for me. But I spend quite a bit of time there and find a lot of like-minded people. And it helps me feel connected. And I've heard so many people say the same. But even if it's online, the pandemic has shut most of us away. Some of us have been shut away from our normal activities and groups that we may have connected with that helped us go through difficult times. For me, it was art and martial arts. It's quite challenging to move here and to be away from my sensei and my martial arts practices. I spent 2 to 3 times a week with them. It was not an easy change to make and not an easy absence for me to have. I haven't built that same community here. I'm still getting settled and trying to get my feet up under me. So TikTok has been a gift. But like I said, online communities are available. You can find a network of people that help you feel connected. But again, there are suicide prevention hotlines. There's warm lines that are usually peer supported, people that have been through similar issues. If you're dealing with sobriety issues, there are whole communities, even on TikTok. But peer supported lines that understand addiction and have stood in that place and can talk you through it. If you're in Florida, there's a Florida Warm Line. Like I said, the Suicide Prevention Hotline, 211. Has a crisis hotline as well. And most of the time, like I said, the people there are pretty well trained and can help you navigate wherever you are. But just be encouraged. No, you're not alone. I understand what it means to feel overwhelmed and lost and afraid. I love you.